Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fan Media NHL Show. My name is Brandon Cassidy. I'm a host here, joined alongside Thomas West, and today we have an incredibly special guest.
The following is a presentation of the Fan Media Network.
Yes, we're very excited to be having a conversation today with Pete Weber. Pete, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Thomas. Glad to be with both of you.
So Pete's actually the voice of the Nashville Predators and has been since 1998, since their inception. He's also been a part of the Sabres broadcast. He's got a plethora of experience broadcasting play-by-play. So Pete, without further ado, we are incredibly honored to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just to kind of take things off here, in terms of the Nashville Predators, just wanted to get your thoughts on the season so far. They're a 500 hockey club, realistically. They're not having the breakout season I bet that they were kind of hoping for this year.
No, it's been a real roller coaster ride. They started out pretty strongly, then took a dip, and now of late, they have won 8 of their last 10. A 6-game winning streak was doused last night by the Dallas Stars in an incredibly physical game, as was the game which was win 6 in a row. So I don't think I can tell you I have a clear read on this team right now. Part of that is COVID related, part of it is injury related, and part of it is just the sort of season the whole darn league is having right now.
Yeah, before we get into this episode, we do have a trivia question as well on Pete Weber. That will be right below, and you can win a couple puck chillers. Brandon, I think you have them right there. Great for throwing in your drink, keeping your drink cold. But with that, let's get a little bit more into this episode. Pete, a really interesting topic right now around the Nashville Predators is the goaltending situation, because you have one 38-year-old goaltender whose contract is going to be expiring very soon. And then you have UC Saros, who's becoming a restricted free agent with arbitration next year. So it's really a goaltending battle right now. One has better numbers than the other, but what's your assessment of the goaltending situation in Nashville right now? And I think we were talking before, you said that the numbers on Pecorine are a little bit deceiving, even though they are quite a lot worse than Saros.
Yeah, really, I'm far more in favor of the eye test than the, if you will, the analytics of the game. I see, for the most part, and boy, I'm going to get into terms here, high danger chances and all of that I think Pekka has actually faced a few more of those when you break down per minute played and all of that. I just think that both of them have played better than their records indicate, and that's the key thing. I would be comfortable with either in a game that you so-called need to win tonight.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, even, I mean, the stats between the goaltenders, as I said, you wouldn't necessarily think that they're capable of having this kind of season, given their history. Pekka's a formidable opponent to most any team in terms of their offense, and Saros is a young and rising star and is now coming to his own. It's a real shame to see them having as rough a season as they have been.
But it is a team game.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And considering the team aspect of things, I mean, let's talk about defense here. Not having a great season. I mean, what was it? Ryan Ellis with having 9 points, but he's -7. Josi having 20 points, but he's got a -9 rating. I mean, but then there's Ekholm with a stroke of genius with a plus, what is it, 12? Plus
yeah, it
12.
was. Yeah, so he's been the only one of that group that really has been healthy all year long, too. I mean, Ellis had surgery. We don't know when he's going to be able to return. Josi did return after 7 games away. So actually with Ryan Ellis, it's kind of like it was last year after the Winter Classic, where he got, let's say, his world disturbed by Corey Perry in the game at the Cotton Bowl, and then didn't return for 21 games, I believe that it was. So really, John Hines has almost sometimes had to look and ask for volunteers to play defense. I think they've had 12 guys play on the defense corps this year already. And one of the guys they brought in to be a in front of the net disturber, Mark Borowiecki out of Ottawa, has played very little. He's been sidelined by injury too. So there's all these factors we have to take into consideration But no, overall the defense hasn't played that well, but now some youngsters have come on. And the other night with the overtime winner against Dallas, who was on the ice on that 2-on-1 rush? Alexander Carrier, and off to his left was some guy named Tolvanen, who again scored a big goal. And he tried to claim to me that was only like the second time he scored a backhanded goal in professional hockey. And he goes bar down. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was his third ever attempted backhand shot in the NHL, I believe, and I think 2 of the 3 he's taken have gone in. So yep. He's a fantastic player. Another guy who Alexander Carrier, who they have dug into the AHL to go pick up. He's really starting to have a good season. I think it was John Hines the other day who was saying that he's kind of earned a spot on this team. He's going to be playing every day. He's up on the second line as well, which is fantastic. How much of a bright spot has he been? And I mean, were you expecting Alexander Carrier to be a guy who can be an effective NHL defenseman for the Predators?
Let's say rather than expect, I was hoping, and those hopes have been realized. He has played extremely well, and this is a guy who's been around Predators, instructional camps in the summertime for 3 years or so, and he just keeps getting better and better. And I think actually his insight. The other night, post-game, after the Dallas win, I spoke with him and said, when you first came here, this team was really struggling. And now you've seen the transition to playing well the last, let's say, 3-4 weeks. I say, what do you see as a reason for that? And he goes, well, now, when we look at video, we see all 5 guys in the same frame. They're working together. Previously, there are a lot of solo artists, shall we say.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. I mean, if you want to talk about solo artists, but I mean, there's so many great players. I mean, like you've got Duchesne, he's got a great name built up in Ottawa, great offensive capabilities. You've got Forsberg. I mean, these are big names even on the offensive side of the puck. But realistically, the defensive side, I think, is costing them more than anything. I think the differential between goals for and goals against is something like -17. I mean, like you can't win a season with -17 as a differential.
No, and people keep hearkening back to those St. Louis Blues team, that team of 2019, which was so far below break even on January 1st, and then lo and behold, roars back and wins the Stanley Cup. That's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So I don't think you can hearken at that and think that that's going to be a possibility here. Though one reason for Predators' success over the years has been so much offense generated by the defense, finished off by the forwards. And I think with the injuries and so on that they have had, and illness, but mostly injury, I think that has cut into that.
And on the offensive side of the puck as well, you mentioned Tolvanen has been great this year. And I think Predators fans were kind of waiting for him to maybe find his stride, but he's definitely found it this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I mean, and what he had to do initially, I think, was produce on the power play to get 5-on-5 time. He did that. And now he's producing 5-on-5. And he gave great credit to the Milwaukee Admirals coaching staff for helping turn him into more of a 200-foot player. Do I have to express that in meters here? That'd be a 200-foot player. Okay, thank you. A 66.7 meter player, yeah. But that's what he has become. He'll be a good F1 going in on the forecheck, and he uses the body to get the puck as well. And that wasn't what we saw when he first came over.
Yeah, and Pete, talking about the power play as well, Tolvanen is playing the point. He's got a wicked shot on that power play.
And he can extend it, and we talked about the backhand earlier, but he can get his arms way out and still get as much velocity on it as he is in tight to him. And I think he also has a gift that Philip Forsberg has, and that being able, in the course of uncorking the shot, being able to change the release and the angle, which really throws off the other goal.
So Pete, let's just kind of talk, especially with the trade deadline looming, I guess, as it were, for half of these players. I mean, with restricted and free agency coming up as well, it's got to be
and an expansion draft we should have.
That's right.
Another consideration.
So, I mean, moving into the trade deadline, Is there anything that you can kind of foresee? Because the Predators are at that kind of precipice point where they could trade and restart next season and just kind of say, kaput, whatever, let's go back and to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Or we could try and add and try and really make a go of this, especially with their recent streak. Those 8 games, you're talking a different team altogether compared to their losses, for sure.
They went into that 8-game road trip, and it was going to be 6 games, guys, but this is the aftermath of COVID and the aftermath of bad weather in Dallas. So they ended up with 2 makeup games with the Dallas Stars at the front and back end, turning that into an 8-game trip, really compressing things a little bit. But going into that trip, they had 3 horrible games, lost those. So nobody was predicting 4-3-1 on that trip and then extending that into 6 games worth of wins in a row. Because prior to that trip, they had not won 3 in a row. So that's where you're talking about a truly drastic turnaround.
Well, I was just going to say, like, do you see them making the moves for the playoffs or away from it and towards a rebuild? Especially with the goaltending situation. I mean, like, they're not having a fantastic season, even though they're playing. And having seen on most of the games, I mean, they have played exceptionally well. Saros has been batting pucks out of the air with his arms. Yeah. It's insane to think that they're at the stage in the standings where they are.
Yeah, and again, look at that division. I know we can talk about how the Sabres ended their losing skiing the other night against Philadelphia, and they had since here's one of the great stats you can come up with in sports. Since February 1st of 2020, the Buffalo Bills had 15 wins. Prior to the Sabres win over Philadelphia, in that same span, they had 14. Now, that's a horrible comparison. You consider how many more games an NHL team plays than an NFL team. But those are the things that I think really will stick out. So now for the Predators, and what I've known David Boyle for years, going back to his days as an assistant with the Atlanta Flames before he moved to Calgary with them.
Oh, wow.
I get the feeling more that he is thinking much more of bargain basement, at least shopping. Everybody has a difficult time trying to fit people in now with the cap. And the Predators have a little bit of playing room there. Not as bad as a few years ago. Detroit Red Wings were in town, and I speak with Ken Holland the night before the deadline. I say, what are you going to do? And he goes, well, right now I have $25,000. What do you think I can get with that? So the Predators are not that tight to it, but many teams, I think, are close to it.
So with only mere seconds remaining, let's get into the trivia and we'll send Pete off with a nice farewell. Thomas, take it away.
I'll get the board game, right?
All right, trivia for today is you have to name 5 teams that Pete Weber has called play-by-play for. What team does Pete Weber call play-by-play for now? And what platform does Pete Weber do play-by-play for? If you answer all those correct, you have a chance to win a puck chiller that Brandon mentioned before.
So I can't thank you enough, Pete. We really appreciate you coming onto the call with us here. Is there anything final that you'd like to mention for the Nashville Predators?
I'm just trying to cover up logos so nobody has an easy answer as best I can. So this is kind of like when the guys, they take pictures of their shoes for the football players so the logo gets on and they get their endorsement rights out of all of that. This has been a lot of fun for me and I hope to continue.
Oh, it's been fantastic for us. Thank you so very much, Pete. We really appreciate it. So please, ladies and gentlemen, send your answers to the email listed right here down below, as well as to our Instagram story. We'll be sure to take them into consideration, and we'll be sure to see you in the next one.
To host a fan show or appear as a fan on a fan show, simply create a profile on FanMedia's iOS app or website. Select your teams and make a short intro video on your phone. Show hosts, reporters, former players, and superfans can use our Get Verified feature and make an intro video as well, and our mobile newsroom staff will reach out.